Welcome to Dr. Rosche's channel, where I help people to remix their thinking so they can have a new way of living. And that's what we do spiritually, psychologically, and even financially. And today I just want to come on a spiritual, psychological moment right now. I had this wonderful opportunity to actually speak at Dow Chemical's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. event. The theme was "Injustice Anywhere is a Threat to Justice Everywhere." And what I spoke on when I was there was about dreaming. As we are starting this new year in 2018, we always start off with a New Year's resolution. And it's all about dreaming again and thinking what we're going to do and developing goals to make that actually happen. And that's also very amazing. But I want to talk about, how do you make a dream truly turn into a reality? So Dr. Rosche was a little girl at one point who just had a dream to be called a doctor. There was a time in my life I just wanted to be a doctor. I grew up in a household full of drama and chaos, as some other people may experience as well. On top of the drama and chaos within my household, I also experienced, of course, not really seeing my people in my community make their dreams into reality. And so sometimes when you live in that environment, it can be very difficult to continue to dream. But I believe that my dream was so much bigger. It was so much bigger than any of the circumstances and the things that I saw in my way. So I continued to dream and dream and dream. So how do I turn my dream into a reality? In the process of going through turning your dream into a reality, there's going to be a couple of hiccups, and you have to figure out, how do you handle those hiccups within your life? And so what I love to do anytime I speak is to speak within acronyms. Love acronyms. It helps me to remember, and it also helps the audience to remember what I'm saying. So DREAM. Yes, that is DREAM, dream. And we have to think about, when we're making a dream into a reality, that we actually have to be determined. That first D is determined. We have to be determined so much that our dream is so vivid in our minds that when a disappointment comes along, that we're able to overcome that disappointment. Disappointments are not so bad when we have a good determined place of where we would like to be. If we have a particular destination, it's easier to make it over that disappointment. One of my favorite motivational speakers that I love to look at on YouTube is Jim Rohn. And he says, you need to discipline your disappointment. Did you hear that? Discipline your disappointment. That means what? Whip it in check. Whip it in check, because disappointments will come as you're on the road. There's ups and downs. But if you could just whip it in check and you could discipline your disappointment, you won't stay down too long. I always share the story about my goal of becoming a doctor. I thought the best way to do it was to, of course, go the pre-med route, because that was the route that, made the most sense. At least I had seen medical doctors within my life, of course, just going to regular physical checkups. So I picked the very best school in the whole entire world, which is a historical Black college named Xavier University of Louisiana. Love Xavier. XULA, XU all day. And at Xavier, a lot of people were pre-med because they were number one in placing African Americans into medical school. And it was just because of the way that the system really flowed to make sure that we were on point regarding like sciences and on point regarding our math. And I was a pretty good student. I did very well. I actually did very well when it came to that. But I came across this one little test called the MCAT. Ooh, it wasn't fun. It was an 8-hour test. I felt like I didn't even have the stamina to do it. I took, multiple test prep classes in order to get prepped up for it. And the Kaplans and some of those people who've taken tests out there, I did all those things. But everything on that test was a reading comprehension. Even when they asked me about physics, when they asked me about biology, when they asked me about chemistry, even math questions, it just felt like everything was just a whole reading comprehension. And based on the way that my mind operates, I don't have that great of reading comprehension skills. I did well on standardized tests as a kid, but in that long term of having to read, translate what it means, it was very difficult for me. And so I in my last year of school, when everybody's going to medical school interviews, I was not able to do that because I didn't pass the MCAT. And I was another D, depressed. And your disappointment, if you stay there too long, it'll go into depression. And I didn't even know what depression truly was at the time. I was about 21 years old. And people really didn't talk about it that often. But at that time, of course, I had taken a lot of psychology courses. Being psychology pre-med, I already had that in me. But I was really depressed. And at that time of feeling extremely depressed, I didn't know really what to do because I had a plan A, but I didn't have a plan B, right? I didn't have a plan B. And so I didn't know what to do within my life. And so that disappointment really took me back for a little while. But I began to get determined. I knew that there was something else for me to do. I often make sure that I'm in alignment with God, but other people are in alignment with other things. Maybe it's the creator. Maybe it's getting grounded. It's whatever you feel is the way that you feel connected to something higher and more and bigger than you. And in that time in my time, I was like, I need to be determined. How will this disappointment be used? How will you turn this disappointment around? And it's so amazing now, several years later, at 34 years old, that those things have been turned around. Literally, Dr. Rosche, who people see today, get to hear on the radio and hear her speak, is there because she's a psychologist, not because she's got a medical degree and got a doctorate degree that way. She actually did it because she's a psychologist. And so something had to change. And that disappointment actually rerouted me on the right path that I needed to be on. So the first thing you have to do when you're making a dream into reality is you got to be determined. The next thing you have to do is you have to respond versus react. You got to be responsive. You got to respond versus react. There's so many things that's going to happen within our lives, whether that's a circumstance, a situation, an interaction with somebody that's going to cause our emotions to get triggered. And our emotions are extremely important and they get to ride, but we don't want them to drive, right? We don't want them to drive in our lives because we can't let them to misdirect us. In psychology, especially in this DBT, we talk about there's like 3 different minds. There's the emotion mind, and then there's the reasonable or logical mind. And when you put them together, you get the wise mind. Yes, you end up putting them together and get the wise mind, which means that your emotions are extremely important, but it also means your reason is extremely important, and they must work together in order to get success, right? So we have to think that we have to respond versus react. We don't want to be reactive to everything because it means that we haven't thought through things first. Well, that means we're allowing our emotions to take over. So not only do you have to be determined, you also have to be have to know how to respond, be responsive to things that are going on in your life. And then when we look at the E, everybody say extra. Everybody say extra. You have to understand that you have to throw some extra on that dream to make it into a reality. The only difference between ordinary and extraordinary is the what? The extra. You got it. Exactly. You have to be all about the extra. And when you go to work a little extra early, maybe you need to stay a little extra late. Maybe you need to study a little extra longer. Maybe I need to get off the couch and say I need to do a YouTube and spend a little extra time in being consistent within my social media presence. Whatever that is, if you're on your way to greatness, you have to understand that you have to do a little extra. So everybody say throw some extra on it. One more time, throw some extra on it. You got to throw some extra on it. I have a great book that's going to come out. It's going to be called Throwing Some Extra on It so you can live that extraordinary life. So the first thing you have to do is be determined. Then you also have to be R, responsive. And then you have to be the E, hey, extra. And then you have to be the A. Make sure that you are able to be in alignment so you can fulfill your assignment. So what is your assignment, you might ask? Well, your assignment is anything that that you're gifted to do. I call them the tags and the shine. Tags, T-A-G-S, that's talents and gifts. We all have talents and gifts that are amazing. And that if we get into alignment with it, they say that your gift will make room for you. right? So when you have a gift, I have a gift of speaking. I have a gift of listening. I have a gift that I'm already just naturally nosy. And so all together, I was like, oh, that made sense to become a psychologist, to become a speaker, and then even become an author to share more of my information and the things that have helped me along the way, right? So those are things that are your gifts. It's the thing that makes me shine. I shine when I speak, right? So it's part of my tags and my shine. And so that's my assignment. If you make sure your gifts are aligned with your assignment, you're all already in the right place. But as you're fulfilling your assignment, you need to make sure that you are definitely in alignment with people, places, and practices. Don't you understand that we unconsciously take on the flow and the pace of those that are around us? Right? So if I decide to, if somebody around me is walking slow, I'll start walking slow. If somebody around me is speeding up, then I'm going to speed up. And if we can do that physically in a walking pattern, we know that we can do that mentally as well. That means it sometimes happens even emotionally. If we're not around the right people, we'll take on their pace. And we don't want to take on their pace. So make sure you're aligned with the right type of people. Then you want to be aligned with the right type of places. Have you ever just walked into an environment that was just negative and drama filled? And when you were in that negative drama filled place, you start to notice that everybody around you, and I mean everybody around you, is just not in the right type of mental state. And because they're not in the right type of mental state, what does that do to you? You don't feel like you're in the right type of mental state. And you can leave that environment and carry on that drama, that irritability, that depression, and you think it's yours. Guess what? It's not yours. It's just because you weren't in alignment with the right type of place to keep you in the right type of mental state. But have you ever had the opposite, where you've gone into a state where you felt a little negative or a little low energy or a little down, but you went into an environment that was just vibrant and exciting, and it just excites you, and you got all excited. You were just ready for anything that could ever happen, right? And that's what a place can do. That means they talk about our unconscious, our subconscious, right? That is our subconscious at work. Right? That means that you can subconsciously take on either the pace of other people, but you can subconsciously take on the mental state of the environment that you're in. Just being in a type of group of people or just a type of place. I used to work at a juvenile hall, and it was just gray on the walls and everything. And it just going into the place didn't feel good to me. And I used to just feel depressed just going into the place, even if there was nobody that I seen, but it was just the place. It was the fact that I had to lock up and hearing the bars and stuff like that behind me as I was walking in. Just the place itself already began to bring me down, right? And so you can leave that place still feeling low in energy. But if you know the right type of places that can pick you up, make sure you go to those type of places. Now let's talk about those practices. There's certain practices that we need to actually carry on. If we carry on certain practices, it'll lead us towards our assignment, right? You know, I love the fact that Oprah was on the Golden Globes and won the award. But what's so beautiful about Oprah is that she's been consistent with her branding. She's been amazing at just being authentic into herself and being authentic to her truth. She's talked about the truth, being authentic to your truth, right? Love her. I feel like I'm little Oprah. Yes, go Oprah. I know a lot of other little girls as well feel that way too, but she's definitely a role model for so many other people that our lives can ultimately become changed because of just looking at her. And now she gives us permission to say, I can do that too. Yes, I can be there too. So the practices, if you're consistent with your branding, those who are entrepreneurs, those who want to lose weight, I always joke around that. You got to be consistent in that area, right? I got to practice I have to have certain practices that can lead me to that assignment, because healthiness is part of your assignment too. If you're healthy, then you have the energy to go out there and do what you need to do. Right? So we want to make sure that we're in the right type of practices. Maybe it needs to study a little bit more. Maybe that means saying no to something else and setting certain boundaries. So that's a part of the practices. So get in alignment to fulfill your assignment. Okay, so that's D. You got to be determined. You have to R. You have to be responsive, respond versus react. You have to E. Be extra. Throw that little extra out there. And then you have to A. Get in alignment to fulfill your assignment. And then that M. You got to get motivated to move. I know a whole lot of people who got a lot of dreams. A lot of people always have an idea. Idea to start this business. Idea to start that business. Oh, I should write a book. I know my story could be a book. Oh, I know that I'm meant to do something great. Oh, and I think that I'm gonna be a speaker one day, and if somebody needs to hear what I have to say. And people just dream, dream, dream. And that could be you looking at this, looking to say, I should do a YouTube channel, but I'm not doing a YouTube channel. Hey, I used to be there, right? So you can dream in a certain way and then never actually make the action happen. You got to get motivated to move into the right area. You got to move. Because when you don't move, that means you stay stagnant and you stay stuck and you stay still. And guess who misses out when you choose? When you choose to not fulfill your dream, guess who misses out? A lot of people say, me. No, it's not you. It's not you. The person that misses out is actually all the people who need to be inspired by your story, need to be encouraged by your journey. Those people are missing out. Those people who needed the permission to know that their dreams can come true. What would have happened if Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream but only kept it to himself? His dream helped change everything. Go to work tomorrow and see the diversity of who you're able to talk to and who you're able to be with in a level of equality, at least a feeling of equality as much as possible because of what Dr. Martin Luther King did, right? And even sacrificed his life for. If it wasn't for an Oprah, who was a little girl who just had a dream that despite her circumstances, then where would we be to not be able to believe that we can be talk show hosts, right? That we could be amazing, powerful, impactful speakers and influential to a whole entire people and a whole entire generation. She's amazing. But what if she kept her gift to herself? What if she kept her shine to herself, right? So we can't be those people who keep it to ourselves. People are waiting on us. People are waiting on us. Let me end this with this quote, that you don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to start to be great. Aren't you ready to get started?